Great points. Thank you. About IP, the intellectual property. How do companies, or how do you protect that IP that companies, maybe that patent, whatever it is, that maybe that is their so to speak golden ticket, but how do you protect that IP that it belongs to the company and not necessarily
by having a SIBR? By having a SIBR. SIBR has very strong data rights protection. STTR has not quite caught up yet in the DFARS, but I expect that to be soon. But SBIR has 20 years data rights protection. And if you're not in a SIBR, if you're in a program, and all that stuff is what you negotiate during your contracting with the government.
Since we're talking about contracting, I'll jump ahead to one of the questions. How long does it take to get those DARPA dollars? Let's say you are approved for one of the programs, whether it's a CRADA, SIBR, STIR, or otherwise. How long does it take to get those dollars in the company?
I wish I had a standard answer for you. I don't. We try to make it as quick as possible. We do that by, at least with our SBIRs and STTRs, and in some of our technical offices, we have a standardized cost template. A lot of times contracting hiccups are because there's been a typo somewhere here or there. And a lot of times it's in cost. Someone carried a one or borrowed a one, or I don't know, there's new math now. But a lot of times then you have to go back and rework cost proposals. So we have tried to fix that by having a standardized cost template. It's a lot of times with small businesses, the holdup could even be on the small businesses because, like I said, with us, it's their first, second, or third touch point to working with the government. And so they don't necessarily respond as quickly as they should. For our SIBRs, we have goals for what we try to reach for a phase 1 and a phase 2. But it really is a lot of times depends on the contracting officer and on the small business. We try to do 30 to 60 days for a phase 1 SBIR, and we try to do 60 to 90 days for a phase 2. Sometimes we do it quicker, sometimes it takes longer, but it is really just, unfortunately, there's no standard answer because everybody's negotiating their own contracts. So my only advice when you're talking about contracting is be responsive. Figure out who your contracting officer and your contracting specialist is. And when you see those emails come in, respond, because that's that's one of the biggest holdups that we hear.
Here's a question that it's a guidance that we usually give to our companies about if you're submitting to one organization, one opportunity, take a look across the landscape. Someone else may have that same need. And here an anonymous attendee said they've completed an AFWorks SIBR phase 1, TRL-8 technology. They're interested in applying to DARPA or the SBIR XL for possibly phase 1, phase 2. Can you help them transition that technology into another DoD use case?
So there's a couple of things that you can do. If you have a SIBR phase 1, you're eligible for adoption. So you wouldn't even need a SIBR XL. You wouldn't even need someone to put out a topic. What you need to do, what my advice would be, is to take a look at our website, figure out which program manager or program managers would have interest, and reach to them and say, I've got a SIBR phase 1. This is what it was. I'd love to continue the work, and I think it would be useful for you. Can you adopt me? And if they're interested, they'll have a conversation, and then they'll talk to me.
Thank you. That's such a wonderful approach. I really appreciate that. I think that's awesome. And we, like I said, we try to encourage our companies to move in that direction because they've already done the work once. Just get it out there, just build those relationships and nest it with your priorities. Weekly alerts. How do you kind of push that information out? I know you mentioned about your DARPA winners. How does that go out to the broader industry and academia that they would see?
It does, and it's really a benefit of being a recipient of a DARPA SIBR. If you have received a DARPA SIBR or an STTR, you get those weekly alerts. The other thing that we do though is we push those same weekly opportunity alerts and a couple other pieces of information out to HBCUs. So if anyone on here is part of an HBCU and does not get those, send a message to us and we'll add you to that listserv.
Excellent. And then DEFTECH, we scour the websites and push out the BAAs and whatnot. And then we have discussions about DARPA. So we definitely help fill that gap as well. Mm-hmm. Question about how many companies from North Carolina, off the top of your head, maybe have had successful engagements and received funding from DARPA, maybe in the past year or past couple of years?
I'm looking at my map to see. I don't have that information with me, but I'm looking real quick. Sorry, as I'm looking away. I would say though, because you're in the research triangle, right? Like you definitely get more just by virtue of what you do and where you are, you get more awards than probably people in the middle of the country, just because either they don't know DARPA as well, or they're not focused on the kind of research that we're doing. But what I can do is I can commit, Aaron and I can grab that, and I will get that information over to Denny, and he can kind of push that out.
Excellent. Thank you. You might have mentioned this already about the TRL requirements for the Excel and the Phase 2 programs. What's that level?
We don't really have TRL requirements. It's really just we ask our program managers to have it be something that we can already think about where or how or what we would transition. Like I said, some of what we do can be so early stage TRL, it's hard to see that. So for SIBR Excel, we really try to make it something that we can transition.
Interested in how the DARPAs, IARPAs, ARPA-E's, all of these advanced organizations within the government, how do you kind of work together or nest your innovation ideas, your research? Because we tend to see stovepipes across the services, and I'm hoping that you guys have kind of broken through those barriers at the national level.
I think there is collaboration and discussions with the program managers between the agencies. There certainly could be opportunities for co-funding or joint funding efforts, but our missions are somewhat different. So even if it seems like we're doing the same thing, we're looking at it from different angles.
Excellent. And as we start to wrap up some of the questions here, we've got a company that is interested in submitting their first SBIR. I say yay to that. They're wondering about resources that they could help navigate, administrative requirements and other things. And is DARPA the right place to take that leap of faith?
Yes. If it's your first SBIR, absolutely, because we are well versed in handling companies that are new to working with the government. And as I mentioned, right, we're so early stage TRL, we are right for companies that are just starting. We have a company that we have another success story for, and I think we're going to run out of time. So I'll have Aaron send the video to you guys if we have too many questions, and you can send that out. But we've got a company called Inflamatics, and we funded them back in 2016. It was one person, it was a doctor. And he said, I wonder if I can get DARPA to pay for my first year of my company. Now, here we go, 6 years later, 30 employees, $150 million in undiluted investments, all because he took a chance and applied to do some work with DARPA.
What a great success story. I hope that one's on the video.
That one is not, but we do have others. This one is just as inspiring. This one's going to change the world with batteries.
Excellent. Well done. Well, we definitely need to lighten the load on our war fighters and our frontline first responders. So thank you for that. I'll kind of wrap up with this final question. If there's materials and dollars that are needed up front to accomplish the work, is that something that DARPA might fund ahead, so to speak, to produce? Well, obviously, if you're producing the prototypes, but I'll let you respond.
I think it just depends on how they structure the contract. And the program managers are typically well aware of what is needed. And so they structure contracts accordingly.
All right. Well, thank you. I think you've definitely answered the rest of the questions, and we look forward to some of those due outs, and if we have time for the video, but I'll turn it back to Denny. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Bob, and thanks, everybody, for all your questions. I think I need to ask you one other question, Jennifer, because it's come up before. The situation with the NDA, National Defense Authorization Act, and whether SBIRs are going to continue to be supported. Mm-hmm. And then we'll probably end up maybe without an NDAA, I don't know, and then a CR. What is the impact, if any, on the SBIR program for DARPA?
Okay, that's always such a great question, right? And I'm happy to address it, but it's one of those that the answer that I give you is the answer for right now. Our Congress is a little bit dysfunctional, and so things are taking a lot longer than they would. So the SBIR program is a temporary program, but it's been in existence for 40 years. Every 5 years or so, we're up for reauthorization. Personal opinion is it's probably up for reauthorization because it gives congressmen and senators a chance to say, hey, look what I did for you all, small businesses in my district. I don't think there is any doubt that the program will continue. What the doubt is there going to be a small, what I'm calling pause in the program, because there's still a couple of key updates or changes that Congress can't agree on. So currently there are two different paths for reauthorization, one of which is the NDAA. And another is just a straight reauthorization. I do not, right now, Congress is on recess, right? When they get back, will they address this? I don't know. I hear rumors that it will be at 11:59 on September 30th that they will pass it, or maybe it'll go in the CR, or maybe there'll be a pause. But the important thing for small businesses to remember is this is a 40-year program, and it's not going to go anywhere, in my opinion. I can't guarantee, right? But in my opinion, it's not going to go anywhere. It just may have a pause. But to that effect, we have been pushing forward, has not changed our standard operating procedures this year. What we've done is try to fast track proposal reviews and fast track awards so we can get as many new awards on contract by September 30th. If you are a recipient, if you were selected for a DARPA SBIR and you haven't received your award yet, our hope is you will receive it before September 30th. If not, once the program is off of pause, you will get it. For our current SBIR performers, you will still be allowed to continue your work. That does not change. It's just hard to say right now. And unfortunately, this is just the state of our Congress. But it will be what it'll be. But I expect that if there's a pause, it will be short in duration. But we have at DARPA taken steps to try to ensure that our current small businesses and our new small businesses can continue or start work as quick as possible.
Great. That's a great answer, actually. And I appreciate that. I do have to ask you one other thing, because I saw that in the legislation, there's a real concern with, the term SBIR mills, where you got certain companies that make a whole living just, one SBIR after the other. Do you, in your small business role, take that into account? Or is that irrelevant from your perspective?
We're in a thankful position that we don't have to worry about that as much, right? With what we do, we're really targeting such early stage and such risk-taking businesses. We have a mix of SBIR performers that have gotten work before and a nice healthy mix of brand new SBIR performers. Okay. So I understand that there's concern on that. I also think, though, that there is a benefit sometimes to having companies that have gotten repeated work get a little bit more repeated work. I think a healthy mix is actually probably what's most beneficial to our country.
Very good.
But at DARPA, we fund the best proposals.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you the last word before I wrap it up. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, Jennifer?
No, I really appreciate all the questions. And if there's more, feel free to send them in to Denny and Bob, and we will answer them as we can. And I will make sure to send our video out so that you guys can kind of see that as a final. Maybe you can send it out to them with the slides as a final. Hey, this is inspiration. If I work with DARPA, this can happen.
Well, we appreciate it so much. And on the video, apologize for that. I think there was just some miscommunication, but I got to tell you that Aaron was a real pleasure working with and getting this all set up. And you got a good person there on your staff.
Thank you.
Aaron, if you're listening, thank you very much. And we will take the video. I've asked for the link, and we will have that posted along with the slides for people to access after this is over. And Jennifer, thank you so much. It's really been an informative 1 hour. I've learned a lot about the SBIR program and other programs within DARPA. It's really interesting how you have this adoption and there's a focus on commercialization. And you told us the strategy for engaging, which I think sometimes people think they just wait for a BAA, then they have a great idea and they decide to make the submission, and they're frustrated when they don't win. So I think you've highlighted a lot of great things. One other thing I wanted you to know about is North Carolina has a program where we have matching funds for SBIR winners. So if you win, we will match the funds up to a certain amount for that SBIR award. Or if you even apply, there are monies available to help defray the cost of application. And that's called the One North Carolina Fund, and that's sponsored by our government and the Department of Commerce.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's something that we have here in the state, and that's why we consider ourselves to continue to be the front line of the future. But with that, thank you so much for your time today. I know you're busy, and we're coming up on 11 o'clock, so I got to let you go. But we appreciate you, your staff, and everything that DARPA does for our country. Until next time.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. And by the way, for the rest of the people on here, slides will be posted at ncnbc.us sometime in the next few days.